All right, let's move on to another piece of news totally unrelated to the A's or baseball from this past weekend, and that is the retirement of Andrew Luck. 7 seasons in the NFL. It's crazy that he only played 86 games. I mean, this guy is going to be considered a legend at his craft and, one of the greater quarterbacks to perform at that level. Only 86 games. It's such a short shelf life just to be an NFL football player, but especially for Andrew Luck, who obviously missed an entire season as well due to injury. But on Saturday, the 29-year-old came out and said he feels exhausted by the process and the, quote, cycle of injury, pain, and rehab, end quote. And look, I understand, maybe you can't relate to this. Maybe you can relate to this. Maybe your job has you coming home tired, fatigued, mentally, physically, day after day, night after night. And I think what most people look at Andrew Luck and say, well, this is his job, and how many people get to do this? He's so lucky. He's handsomely rewarded. And by the way, I should mention, Luck has done really well in his life. Stanford degree, they say, $100 million in the bank, but he is now giving up. You understand, he is giving up $58+ million that are left on his contract. He's doing that. He's looking at the only thing he's ever really known, right? Football has been everything for him. At least that's how people have known him for many, many years now, going way before the days that he was a Stanford Cardinal. So he's giving up the only life he's ever known. He's giving up, $58+ million, all because in his brain, he knows this is not right for him. He's a new father. He's a new husband. And I totally understand the life changes that he is going through right now and physically just not feeling maybe as he once did as a younger man. So for him to get booed, walking off the field, a game he wasn't playing in, a preseason game, because fans were finding all this stuff out on social media that his retirement was inevitable, that it was going to be announced on Sunday. On a Saturday night preseason game, he's coming off the field with the team for halftime and getting booed to a certain volume that was easily heard on the television broadcast of that game. I just think it's so unfortunate that the fans gave him that instant reception. I understand there's confusion, there's disappointment, and I'll get to maybe perspectives of fans in just a second. But as for Andrew Luck, I mean, he's got to think about his own life after football. He only gets one. Does he want to walk properly? Does he want to be able to lift his child up or children up? And does he want to have a physically, decent life after he eventually was going to retire from football? Does he think this is the only way out? Does he even really want to be a football player anymore? He's done so well with it for so long. And I know 7 seasons, that's called cutting it short. But if you think about what they go through for 7+ seasons, think about the seasons and the years it took just to get him to the National Football League. My point is, if you're blaming this guy because he has said he has enough, he's had enough, I don't understand that. And if you're also telling me that you would rather have had a half-injured Andrew Luck out there, an unmotivated Andrew Luck out there, just to say, oh, he wasn't a quitter, that's also a ridiculous perspective. I want to separate this into the Colts fans who love him for all that he's done for the team and that we're hoping that he'd be a part of the upcoming team for this season and beyond. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But guess what? Andrew Luck walked away from this, and it would be so much differently viewed if the team cut him because he just wasn't good anymore. How is it cool that a team could cut a player if they don't want him anymore? But if an NFL football player says, I don't want this opportunity anymore, it's their fault. I don't relate to that. I don't subscribe to that. I don't understand that. I mean, it's disappointing if you're a fan of the team and you didn't expect that from him and you thought he was all in just like you are. It's just not the case. And that's his prerogative. And quickly, I want to touch on those who are upset because they recently drafted Andrew Luck for their fantasy football team, and he is somehow letting you down. Now, I'm not going to bash you for playing fantasy football, not at all. I don't really participate. I don't get a kick out of it. but I'm not going to take that away from you. And clearly, a lot of people have significant money invested in their fantasy football team. So, forget the competitive nature. They just didn't want to lose money. And they made a decision they thought was safe, and it turned out to kind of really backfire quite quickly. The timing of this was rough. Yeah, I understand. The timing was rough. But if you're Andrew Luck, I'm sure he tried everything he could to get the mind and the body working, and it just, through training camp, was not happening. Simple as that. You go through a couple of these injuries and you still can't get right. He knows it wasn't good. It wasn't going to happen. But if you're mad because this is affecting your fantasy football team, and if you're really mad about it, I don't care if you're joking about it, and yeah, you tell your buddy, hey, how bad is this? This sucks. Yeah, that's fine. But to actually hold a grudge, if you really are, against Andrew Luck for that, I also don't relate to that either. I just don't. Life is way bigger than fantasy football.